Hey everybody, this is SilverSpook, and this is the SilverSpook video about the NS wordification versus the N other S wordification of the Internet of Data of information, and as well as um, the AI space, obviously. So today we're going to be talking about OpenAI, uh, Deepseek, and various topics around those, including open source versus closed source, um, artificial intelligence, where that is at, generative artificial intelligence. Obviously, this has economic, system, and geopolitical implications, as they always do. But yeah, I thought that would be this is a good time because it's been about a month since I did like a video specifically focusing on the DeepSeek topic specifically. Yeah, full disclosure, I am also a computer programmer, so I'm constantly I make cyberpunk games which focus on computer tech, robotics, AI is a central focus of those. So um, I do follow this closely. In fact, slight sidebar, but I just finished the entire script for Neofeud 2. For those who are follow me for that kind of material, because I also make video games myself. So I do program myself, I make code myself, which is what DeepSeek does as well. And so Neofeud 2 is I finished the compiling all the scripts, so I'm going to be looking for voice actors soon. So just small internal SilverSpook ad. If you are a voice actor or you have been waiting to apply or audition for voice acting in my cyberpunk adventure game sequel to Neofeud 1, Neofeud 2, then now is the time to follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Mastodon, Blue Sky, so many. Xiao Hongshu, obviously. This is a DeepSeek of social media platforms. It has Communist Party a Communist Party actually moderates that. So yeah, you can definitely follow that, and don't suffer the NS certification of your video games and your video game voice acting jobs. Because I know one thing that's obviously we'll get to is where the game industry is. To be honest, I'm trying to figure out where it is right now. I haven't released a game into the video game industry. Well, I take that back. No, I did release Decolonators and Digistar and Pigeon with Gun, which are 3 separate games that I put out in the last 2 to 3 years. In the last 2 to 3 years. Those are smaller games that was not like I didn't spend a lot of extra time on those. I do promote all of the games at all times, but Neofeud 2 is going to be a big new release. So I'm interested. Where is the tech landscape? Where is the internet? What is happening on the internet? Does the internet even exist anymore, or is it just completely NSHIT-ified? I'm trying to not. What even is the algorithm thinking right now, right? Does the Android dream of electric, PALESTINES, right? Does it stop you if you even say those words? Will anybody find, if a video drops in the neon forest, does anyone see it, or does it get buried beneath, AI generated McDonald's ads, Captain America with Trim Jesus slime? I don't know, actually. I'm trying to figure that out. And like, how to even figure that out? It's been because I'm like, okay, it's time to put a game out. What do we do as an independent independent software maker? What is the strategy now? So I'm gonna be hitting up a lot of my contacts in the industry to see about that. So that's a kind of I know it's kind of a little bit of a aside from the central topic, but that is where things are at right now. Since I just dropped all that so early, Don't forget to go get Neofeud 1 if you haven't yet. Don't forget to get Neofeud 1 and help us keep on complete. I still have more work to do after audio. There's still the sound effects, voice acting, and music that has to be added to Neofeud 2. I'm going to try to compose the Neofeud 2 soundtrack. However, I may hire or bring on as a worker or contract, basically, a music composer for Neofeud 2. So if you are a music composer, now is the time to be. They're always sending me messages a lot of the time. They're always after me, Lucky Charms, those music composers, saying, Silver Spook, can I do Neofeud 2's music? I get like one a day at least. But now is the time to increase that to 10. No, don't spam my email, please. But get Neofeud 1. And don't forget, if you in all seriousness, if you want to contact me about voice acting stuff, I'm gonna put the casting call out probably from my Silver Spook various Silver Spook accounts. Silver Spook Games is like the largest account. I don't know. I don't even know where social media is, to be honest. Stuff is all messed up right now. But I'm gonna post it probably to. I'm gonna post the casting calls to Silver Spook Games on Twitter, Silver Spook Games minus the E in silver, and there's a Facebook account. I'll post it to the Mastodon at Silver Spook Games at wandering.shop and at Silver Spook Games at mastodon.social. I usually do this at the end, but just so people know that, because I know some people come into this. Some people stop by the YouTube channel and they ask about Neofeud 2. And if they can work on it or contribute to it. So, and here's since we're already there, here's a little Neofeud 2 in-game, a little bit of Neofeud 2 in-game video. That's just a random video. Also, what is up to what's up, Christine Amazon? But anyways, yeah, so back to this, because I'm trying to make a video. I will be on Twitch later on. You can also follow me on Twitch. I'm doing more Twitch streams nowadays. I do like 3 a week, so you can follow also on Twitch. And I'll probably be updating at Silver Spook on Twitch. I will be updating the casting calls there. Although that's streaming is a whole different sort of beast. So it's a little bit different from videos, which is different from social media posting. Anyway, I'll try to get back to the topic. Do follow on Twitch. Okay. Anyway, so the NS wordification versus Ensocialismization. So the main thing I wanted to kind of focus on was the updates since Deepseek dropped, right? Because Deepseek did come out about, as I said, like January. No, I take that back. It didn't drop, but Deepseek made it big, caused big shockwaves across the world in January, right? So it's been about a month since that. Maybe a month and a half. It's now March. So, and what's happened is, I think the main takeaway is that the Western-led, not necessarily everybody in the West, but let's say the techno-feudalists, the neo-feudalists, sometimes they call it tescrial worshipping, transhumanism, extropianism, singularitarianism, long-termism, all these people. I was talking about this a lot last stream. There's a good video about this actually if you want to. I was just sharing. It was with Timnit. I think it was on Haymarket Books. Let me see if I can quickly pull that up. It was a video about the techno dystopian Skynet bringers that originated at Stanford. It's called it's got to be recent. Shoot, where was it? Is Okay, wait. And who was the other person? It was Malcolm something. Not Gladwell. The grit beneath text glitter. That's what it is. Yeah. So yeah, there's a book and there's this video about this directly related to this topic called Palo Alto, the grit beneath text glitter, that talks about like the entire history of Stanford and its connection to eugenics and to which is behind all. Timothy Gregory was like somebody who has worked in AI, worked at Google like 10, 15 years ago, and has been like writing and trying to work on alternatives to this kind of techno dystopian, collective mind prison, digital, like literal Matrix crossed with the worst Terminator future, Western led, Doge team version of what tech, computer, human interface, human robot, human machine, human AI interfacing would look like, right? And which is to say very bad. And so that's just as an aside, I recommend everybody watch. I actually watched the most of that video on the last stream. Anyways, so it's what's happening is that OpenAI, which is not open, right? It's actually closed source, number one, so it's a misnomer. So the Sam Altman, Elon Musk, Grok, Mark Zuckerberg's Meta, what are the other ones? There's this company release was a Gemini that was telling people to, as I just want to reiterate, it was explaining to people that they should put Elmer's glue on their pizza to stick the cheese to it properly, telling people to eat toxic materials, also telling people to eat rocks. It also suggested unaliving homeless people, recommended poisonous mushrooms. I mean, there's a whole litany of these things these are the big U.S. corporate generative AI companies, right? They, it can never go without it can never go without saying, or we can never overstate that there have been like massive deleterious effects over the last years. I've made at least 10 separate YouTube videos just about that topic. So I can't recap all of it, but like I've made at least, it's at least 10. It could be more than that. Let me just look in this list here. Even before the Deepseek one several years ago, was this Deepseek, Beaks Meta, Gen AI, ChatGPT. There was the there's the Tesla robots dunking, obviously, but hacking yourself to pieces, that was definitely related to it. That was a CrowdStrike related, which is related to the big techs. The CrowdStricken video. Trump, Biden, and AI sharing a single damaged neuron. So there's been a lot. So I can't recap it all, but I just want to say that, they have caused a lot of problems. Like, just a short list. Number one, the U.S. I'm going to try to, split this in half. This is part of what's happening, right? Is that we've been looking through a glass darkly at AI, artificial intelligence, what that word even means. Part of the scheme, part of the ploy, part of the supervillain, part of the cyberpunk comic book villain plan of Western capitalist AI is to obfuscate, right? And I talk about this a lot over the last years. As a computer programmer, I have worked with AI myself. Artificial intelligence, not Gen AI specifically, or they call it large language models, neural network style systems. But so as I've said many times, right, like the ability for people to know the number of people who understand how large language models, right, these sometimes they're called stochastic parrots. They're called spicy autocomplete. They have a lot of references, but there are specific kind of computer architecture. Like NVIDIA makes GPUs that do this kind of processing very well, but most people again don't understand how that actually works. Don't understand what's happening. Definitely people that are not computer science, even some computer science specialists don't understand it. But English majors, political science majors, New York Times writers, right? The average investor, millionaires and billionaires, they don't know what the hell is. Millionaires are made up of incompetent clowns. That's how capitalism works. It's called kakistocracy. So they don't understand how anything works mostly, except how to lie, cheat, steal, and kill. So they definitely don't understand what ChatGPT or Deepseek is doing. They don't understand like what an advanced adversarial network is. They don't understand what a neural network is, how it works. They might vaguely know what the word neural means, maybe, but they lack the neurons to properly understand it because they're too busy getting COVID and being useless kakistocrats, right? So so even if they don't want to understand it either, they don't care. They don't care about understanding. Elon Musk doesn't understand anything about space, otherwise he wouldn't say that the sun is going to go red giant 500 million years from now and be off by an entire magnitude, right? But he's the richest person in the world. So the average person, and definitely not the investor class, the people, the shareholders, the big banks, the Black Rocks, they don't know and they don't care. The United States as a whole, the collective West, the capital, all the hedge funds, right? All the terrestrial funders, even people like Ray Kurzweil, even people like these Nick Bostrom's, right? These are the big tech ideologues. Definitely not the return of kings, neo-feudal. I call them the bards of neo-feudalism, right? The bards of techno oligarchs under neo-feudalism, right? Like Mencius Mollbug, Curtis Yarvin, these dark Enlightenment thinkers that are they feed. They're like the Sauron in the ear of the Saruman's of like Doge team, right? That want to build a world where capitalist U.S. ultra rich, self-proclaimed monarchs, like Elon, like Peter Thiel, control the entire planet and all people within it by installing their Skynet machines inside of people's brains, having everybody looking at their screens with their algorithms, with their information, controlling everyone's mind, what you want to do next, what you want to. As Eric Schmidt said, Google will not be locating, the kind of cat food you're looking for, or telling you who is available to vote for, or suggesting parks. Eric Schmidt said 15 years ago, the goal of computer technology and of corporations like us, we will tell you what you want to do next. This is his words. This is in 2009. The goal of Google, Facebook, et al. Is we want to be in the position to be able to tell you what food you're going to eat, where you're going to drive. While you're driving, we will tell you where you're going to go, what information you're going to see, who you're going to vote for next, right? What war to support or not support. The goal is not to locate things for you. It is to direct you before you even know what you want. We will make you. We will tell you what you want. We will give you the free will you think you have, right? That has always been the goal of this, Western capitalist imperialist AI, and the Peter Thiel, as he also said, like we don't. Peter Thiel is the CEO of some of the largest tech companies, Palantir, directly involved in the military intelligence industrial complex of the imperial United States. He said, like, we don't want competition, we want monopolies, right? The goal of companies should not be competition. Competition is for losers. Winners monopolize, right? Winners become kings. This is also part of the end of the goal has always been the end of the pretense of democracy. There hasn't never been real democracy in the West, certainly, and in the Western capitalist world, the so-called free world. It's oxymoron. But even the pretense of democracy, that's the point of Neofeud, is that it's a pretense. right? And Neofeud is the United States when in the US and Europe in the collective West when they cease pretending that you have a say in your government, that you have your will matters at all, right? And so right, so that the they've always wanted to go in that direction. Like they look at Skynet, right? The billionaires look at the dystopian. Like Elon Musk looks at his favorite games like Deus Ex, which is also one of my favorite games. But he sees himself in Bob Page, or he takes the lesson that like he will be the corporate overlord that runs the entire planet, right? He just tweeted that out the other day. Right? You saw Hunger Games and you sided with Resistance. You saw V for Vendetta, you sided with the Resistance. You saw Star Wars, you sided with Resistance. You saw The Matrix, you sided with the Resistance, right? Yet in reality, you do the opposite, right? Which is like it also shows that Elon. That's another way that this guy is illiterate. This guy is a complete fool. I mean, he didn't even pick up that these movies are criticizing him. And he is the ultimate champion of capitalism, the richest man in the world, controlling the United States government right now. So, which is the global capitalist superpower. So, these people don't understand what they're doing. They don't have any idea how it works. What they do know that AI could be a way to control the entire planet. They do know that AI is. They don't really know. They don't know exactly what that means. This is the thing, right? It was like AI is the next. AI is the game-changing technology of the future. Like, it has applications, and like generative AI has certain applications. Like Deepseek obviously has applications. People are applying it right now, and it's actually generating real value for a lot of people. Actually, right? So there are applications, but like just saying this is gonna be the game changer, right? The business investor class. I mean, some of these people are not. They're not just in the U.S. Some of them are actually in like places like Shanghai. A lot of them are in Europe. They're in UK, right? They're just tech bro. They're just people that have money, right? They have an MBA, right? Or they don't. They just like listen to Joe Rogan 3 times, or I don't know. Paid $70,000 to have some guy on a yacht tell them how to get yachts and mansions and have your own private harems. And I don't know, people like my dad actually signed up for one of these classes, and those people who want to make money, right, following the trends, right, or what they think are the trends, and what particular company to invest in so I can make more money. Those people don't understand AI. What they know is that money seems to be flowing towards Nvidia, or at least it was Nvidia, Microsoft, OpenAI, Facebook, Meta, right? This, I don't want to say too much about this one I'm streaming from, but this one too. And I want to make money, so I'm going to throw money where people who seem smart are throwing money at. The entire stock market and capitalism is a scam, so let's get that out of the way. So my dad got scammed. That's one of millions of people. The majority of people who invest in this kind of stuff get themselves scammed. And the biggest tech bro with a Yeti microphone. I have a snowball. That's why you cannot lump me in with these Skynet clowns. See, I have a discount 7-year-old microphone. I'm not selling you. Obviously, I'm not selling you on how to get rich quick. If I ever do, you gotta quit this. You gotta quit this stream. The majority of people who talk about AI, generative AI, OpenAI, and even a lot who talk about Deepseek too, but definitely the former. They are there to make money, but they have no particular core competencies other than they're greedy, right? And some of them have some idea about like, allocating capital, going long when you have positive indicators and metrics that suggest the company is going to do better, and then going shorting or, like not investing or betting against a company when, like the subprime housing market in 2007, just as Goldman Sachs did against their own toxic mortgages. That's called fraud. and crime, but that's celebrated and rewarded in the United States and the collective West. So, but anyways, so right, but that's not understanding AI. That's just throwing money in the direction of what seems to be making other people money who are richer than you, right? But then, that also assumes kind of that those people that are richer than you are going to give you good information. This is also one of the ploys of capital, which is that it's always rigged and it's always a lie at all times, including it's based upon disinformation. If everybody had equal information and everybody could invest, right? If everybody had equal access to information, like exactly concretely how valuable and how useful is large language models, right? And these NVIDIA GPUs, right? How useful is this generative AI? If everybody had perfect access to that, nobody would make any money because everyone would invest equal amounts into that, equal amounts into, I don't know, building new kinds of electric vehicles, equal amounts into fossil fuel, right? So the investment stock markets, right, capital markets, these are based upon asymmetries of information, meaning certain people like Warren Buffett, right, like Elon Musk, like Senators Loeffler and Burr before the COVID 2020 pandemic crisis, who knew that, as I like to bring up, Amazon and Zoom were going to go up as everyone was forced to stay home and international air travel was locked down, and they short sold all the hotel and the airline stocks beforehand, right? But that's based upon certain people having privileged information, and the higher, the more powerful you are politically and economically, the more well connected you are. If you're in DC with a line to the CIA that's like, operating biolabs, I'm just joking. Nobody would ever design weapons to kill people using manipulated viruses. But if you understand that this is happening, that's a Spanish flu like event that's going to happen in November or December, those people are already ahead of everyone else, right? So in terms of like the average lay investor, right, the random dentist, doctor, candlestick maker, millennial with $5 of savings, they want to invest one of those dollars into a stock, right? Those people, if you're not the richest and most powerful class, you will always be behind in a capitalist society, in the capitalist investor in the stock market, just generally, right? You're always behind on information. If you get information, it's too late. Even if you have the information, there's tiers of investing, right? There's apartheid in investing. There's also the contagion effect, where basically people who are closest to central banks that print infinite amounts of quantitative easing infinity money. It's called central bank U.S. dollars. This is how economic sources is called. If I have a central bank, I can print infinite dollars, and if you're closer to that, you get dollars for 0%. If you don't, then you're screwed. In the Western capitalist world, that's certainly how it works. And then everyone is jumping into that system, in through DC and in through Wall Street, to try to get closer and closer to that. Better information, lower interest rate, basically free money, while everyone else has to pay 5, 6, 7%. That's why you're never going to buy a house. If you're a Gen Z or Alpha in the United States, right, you're going to pay double, right? If you're paying $400,000 for a 3-bedroom house, if they exist and they're not all set on fire in California, or it's more like $800,000 in California. If you're buying a $400,000 house in Mississippi that hasn't been destroyed by a Category 7 Hurricane NATO and a biolab's toxic incinerated lithium airborne dioxin rain, if you can find a house, you're going to pay $800,000. The people that are closest to the central bank, they're going to pay basically nothing, and they can print money and buy houses and then rent them to you. It's called Blackstone. It's called Black Rockification of your entire real estate. So anyway, that's a lot of asides. But the goal. So what I was trying to get at was that the people who are at the top of that pyramid that actually benefit from the capitalism, and the people who believe they're going to benefit, it's just basically a giant mountain of suckers, right? Who think they're going to get in on that, or they're already made it to the top. Either you are the mark, or you are the scammer. And if you're the scammer on the top, then the more suckers that keep coming into the U.S., keep joining into the capitalist game, they keep leaving Africa, Asia, and Latin America, getting on a boat, showing up in America. You want that to constantly be happening, because you constantly need more suckers, and you also need more resources to deal with military and sanctions and dollar hegemony, right? So, but you none of the people at the bottom or the people at the top understand how ChatGPT or Deepseek works. They don't know how any of that stuff works. If they understood how that stuff works, they would probably be Chinese, right? In a socialism with Chinese characteristics, they would be moving to the place that's actually moving ahead and has always respected scholarly and was actually meritocratic when it comes to knowledge seeking, whether that's science, technological, engineering, or mathematics knowledge, or poetry, literature, history, culture, right? Those people are, and this tends to be open, those people tend to be open source, because open source or pro open source people don't particularly care about the making of the money, right? Otherwise, you wouldn't be giving away your software, your code, your work for free. Now, like, we do have to charge here at Silverspoon Games, but if we lived in a world where we don't have to worry about our basic material conditions, like, I would be happy for people to just play Neofeud for free. Like, you know, it's like if we, you know, the thing is, Deepseek, they actually do make money. Actually, they're more profitable than OpenAI. We'll get to that. But like, we're not charging like exorbitant amounts. We at Silverspoon and also the Deepseek devs, they're not seeking to like make billions, if not trillions of dollars from the Deepseek software. Just as like at Silverspoon Games, like I pointed this out in the last the Silverspoon Deepseek video where about Deepseek beats OpenAI, which I think I put out in Deepseek beats Meta, Gen AI, and ChatGPT and causes oceans of tech bro tears. Like, we're not seeking here to make enough money to buy mansions and yachts, right? And if I ever made more money than we needed, we would immediately invest that. But actually, I was talking about, like, you know, if Neofeud 2 comes out, I said if everybody on my Twitch, like, if everybody in our Twitch streams and YouTube streams like donated like $8, because I think like there's the OutSchool classes that our kids take. They're like this. It's a very convenient online school. You can learn all kinds of things. There's like entomologist bug courses for kids, and there's like reading clubs and reading book clubs, and like English classes. And this is not an ad. I'm not getting paid to say that. It's just what's happening. But like, it's like $10 per class, right? So if every single person who watched the YouTube or a Twitch stream gave $10 while I'm educating people on various topics, then that would be, you know, we'd be making like 3, 4, or 5,000, or it would be like, you know, that would be like 1,000 a week at least, you know, I feel like approximately, and then we would have like, you know, maybe $4,000 a month. That's you know, that's more than we're making right now. Let's put it that way. And then my son was like, well, if you made that much money, you could, like, you know, buy houses. And I said, like, we already have a house. Why would we need to buy another house? Right? We're in a house right now. And they said, no, you can buy other people's houses, like the homeless people. Remember all the homeless people in America? You could buy all those people houses. And that's basically what we would do. We would try to house and take care of everybody's material conditions that needed it. We don't need any more than we have, right? Which that's called socialism, right? Is that the resources distributed according to a need, and people contribute based upon ability, and that is the opposite of what the United States capitalism, and obviously it's Enshittified capitalist tech companies want to do. They want to hoard all of the revenue that is produced by the most advanced software. Like, Neofeud is not the most advanced software in the world. It's just a software. But, you know, they want to, well, I take that back. It's not that advanced. It's just really badly coded, like 50,000 Facebook employees sitting around, like, entering semicolons into a fucking spreadsheet and calling that GDP, right? That's the United States economic structure. It's called, let's just type a bunch of BS about how China is destroying the world by creating Deepseek, and like, let's, you know, and that's like $200,000 of USAID salary, right? We'll call that GDP, right? US GDP is like, take pictures of like amazing Chinese cities and label them with a Japan flag, right? That's GDP. That's what people do in America and Europe, right? In Europe, well, they go, here's a picture of 1920s Russia, and let's call that 2025 Russia, right? That's GDP in Britain, right? You sit in an office in London, right? And you sip your tea or your coffee, right? And you, oh yes, it was lovely on the train this morning with all those homeless, dying British people eating their carrot, you know. And I gave them an austerity sandwich, a toasted piece of bread between two other breads. Oh, it's just delightful. Let me sit here and take pictures of, our, U.S. and Western back Nazis and label it as a Russian atrocity. Yes, that's my GDP in Britain. That's all they do in the West. So, that's I suppose that's work. I don't know that that's producing any value to the world. Is that how is producing imperialist military industrial complex propaganda helping the world? Is that right? Other than help yourself, right? As one of the bullshit jobs are imperialist capitalist jobs. That's another thing we should remember. A lot of the bullshit jobs, they're not just there because, speaking of enshittification and bullshitification of the society, where people are doing, right? Like the Facebook, I pointed it out, right? In the first Deepseek video, the Facebook programmers themselves said, we don't really know what we are doing here. We just have to make it look like the billions that are being spent and given to buy NVIDIA chips to make Facebook's, Mark Zuckerberg's Meta AI is working. We have to be doing something, but we don't really know. Now because DeepSeek just blew us out of the water with $5.5 million and a small team of Chinese programmers, just completely blowing all of Silicon Valley out of the water, making something 20 times more efficient with even like last gen NVIDIA chips, and they're beating all of us. And we are just frantically trying to play catch up. So what that is, that the Facebook admitted. Facebook, and by extension, OpenAI, and a lot of Twitter, they're working on Meta, right? Twitter working on Grok for Elon. What they just admitted is that they have bullshit jobs, right? Just like professional propagandists for the military-industrial complex of the New York Times and the Guardian, the BBC. And just like 60 to 70% of all the jobs in the West, in the first world, U.S., so-called free countries, all the capitalist, so-called democratic countries, they're bullshit. They're BS jobs. They're not real jobs, right? They're busy work to justify the first world, third world split and stealing all the global South resources and giving it to the good countries like Canada, U.S., Japan, European countries, the usual suspects. They just said this is their own post. Okay, so I just want to reiterate this. DeepSeek. This is from this is from about a month ago. It's DeepSeek 3 rendered Llama 4 already behind. That's Facebook's Facebook system. Or I'm sorry, that's not Facebook. That's one of the AI systems. Rendered at Llama 4 already behind in benchmarks. Adding insult to injury was the unknown Chinese company with 5.5 million training budget. Engineers are moving finally to dissect DeepSeek and copy anything and everything we can from it. I'm not even exaggerating. Management is worried about justifying the massive cost of Gen AI org. How would they face the leadership when every single leader of Gen AI org is making more than what it costs to train DeepSeek V3 entirely? And we have dozens of such leaders. DeepSeek R1 made things even scarier. I can't reveal confidential info, but it'll be soon public anyway. It should have been an engineering-focused small org, but since a bunch of people wanted to join, the impact grab and artificially inflate hiring in the org, everyone loses. So when they said artificially inflate hiring, every unnecessary inflated hire is a BS job, bullshit job. That's enshittification already, right? But the thing is, that's right. That's almost all the jobs, right? It's like almost all the jobs. What do you do? Oh, I produce I produce articles. Oh, if it was 10 years, 20 years ago, it was already doing that. What do? I sit around and I take a picture of Colin Powell holding a can of yellow laundry detergent, and I call that weapons of mass destruction, right? Oh, what do? Oh, I go to war zones in the Middle East and pretend like I'm hiding behind bullets, claiming that HAMAS is attacking and killing every innocent people, right? Those are all. That's most of Western jobs. It's professional bullshit artistry, right? It's what Gen AI actually can do. That's why they're all worried. They were all worried about it because New York Times articles are just, again, high frequency, eloquent bullshit, right? About how China is collapsing. Every 10 years, every 5 years, every 6 months, but every 5 years there's a Gordon Chang article about China is about to collapse, and capitalism and America will win forever now, right? And Gordon Chang gets paid like $100,000, $200,000 to sit around and write these regurgitated garbage that have proven nonsense, but he keeps getting a job in that. Why? Because, well, it's the West. It's capitalist, cacistocratic, incompetent, techno clownarchy. So, if you're useful in the West, you're probably poor. Like, if you do anything functionally good and useful, like teachers, janitors, care workers, anything classified as quote-unquote women's work, those are things that are needed in society, right? People that make food, harvest food, clean things, care for people, right? You're going to be probably poor. Not because you deserve to be, because the West is the most immoral, horrible place on the earth, full of imperialist, unhealed descendants of Roman trauma. So anyways, so back to this topic. So we know that internally, right, OpenAI and Meta were wasting all this money. They were just pumping up their own stock of their own companies. Their AI was incompetent. It wasn't doing anything. Confirming everything I've always said. But people, just average people, it's not necessarily their fault. Even teachers. I just said teachers are useful. I mean, we do need teachers to help educate people in children and the future. I was a teacher. I still am a teacher, really. Well, not really. I really am a teacher. I just don't teach like in the U.S. Public school system. Or private, or I used to teach in the charter and or private and or public school system at various times. But even teachers of high school classes, like which I had pointed out, like I forget which one of the streams, but high school English teachers were, like, I think last year or 2 years ago, when AI was being rolled out in classrooms, in offices, everywhere, everyone was being pushed to use AI, use the Gen AI, use it, right? Generate your Instagram picture, right? Use it in your classroom. I remember there was a high school English teacher who had the students talking to a chat GPT, Holden Caulfield, right? And they had the students, and he had spent a lot of time himself talking to ChatGPT and was like, oh, this is just an amazing software that we have here. I can talk to ChatGPT all day, and I'm learning so much. And instead of reading Catcher in the Rye, you can just talk to a ChatGPT generated version of the main character from that book, right? And I remember it was the way he was writing about it, right? And it's a kind of person. Not going to say exactly who, but it's a kind of person that is they tend to be the ones who were the first to be like, oh, I can create art, I can create writing, I can create my own books, right? And the people who have like the least understanding of what it means to be a creative person, right? They tend to be business bros, tech bros, people that there's a culture of people, if you can call it that, but it is. There is a Western capitalist culture, right? The Tech Bro Podcast Bro is just an offshoot of a wider culture of people whose job it is to basically lie, cheat, steal, kill, and make as much money as possible, right? It's Western white. I'm not necessarily white man is one of these people, but there is a culture there. It's the business man. Historically, it's been a white man, usually an upper class white man. All right, the founding fathers were these people, right? These are people that they're the golf course going club. They don't always go to golf courses. Nowadays, they sit around and they pretend like they're CrossFit. They pretend like they're like, some kind of, geniuses at elongating their life expectancy. Like what's his name? Not Brian Thompson. He's the CEO that got shot for being a universal death care manager. What's his name? Brian, the billionaire who exsanguinates or takes blood from his son and then injects it into his body in order to elongate his lifespan. But that class of people, right? The people that are capitalists or view themselves as people that really buy into that idea, right? That the world, that if I'll work hard, or they say to themselves, I will work hard and that will make me a lot of money. But what they actually ultimately do is try to get other people to do work for them. It's never really openly admitted, but it's right. It's just like, And they don't, when women talk and when people of color talk and when the global South talks, they don't listen. Like the American Johnson is non-compete. He's a socialist, he's a communist. He is also a white American guy, but he lives in Vietnam now. But like he said, like, oh, when I was younger, in as a South Carolinian liberal capitalist, I would never listen to what anyone else said, and I tried to exploit as many workers as I possibly could. Right, I would have he didn't have a huge business, but he's like, I had like small businesses, and like tried to make sure. I came to Vietnam to try to start up a company and make lots of money. I came to Asia to start a company and make money, doing marketing, promoting products, and I would have workers under me that would be non-white men, and they would make me lots of money. And he says like was not a good thing to be doing, but I was a capitalist white man from America. My daddy was a New York capitalist, right? That's a culture of people, right? That culture is the same. There is an offshoot. Elon and Peter Thiel and Mark Zuckerberg are all in that, right? Right, which is to say, they and people who associate with that, they're easily led in whatever direction. They don't understand what they're talking about. They're led in whatever direction seems to be making them money. Or also, and they're not particularly creative people, right? They're not writers. Well, I take that back. EJI at least did do some of that, but like to the extent that it's more like the sides that are not the fully capitalist masculine white man venture business, like MBA from Harvard aspects of yourself. I mean, I went to a Ivy League feeder school, so like aspects of that culture have like obviously rubbed off on me. That's how I know some of the things that I know. I almost went to work for Goldman Sachs as a high frequency trading algorithm programmer, which would have been a very capitalist white tech bro business bro thing to do, right? So but it's not a thing that's specifically for a person or a particular gender or race. I'm talking about there is a capitalist culture. There's a Shanghai culture, right? That's a lot of people who betrayed their revolution historically. I mean, not like it's all evil people there, but I'm saying like there are capitals of capitalism. They tend to have very tall buildings, right? Like unnecessarily tall. Like the Beijing's buildings, they have some tall. So the capital there, capital of communism, it's not actually that tall. So I forget exactly. It's like 4 or 5 stories. It's not half a mile tall. But you can, that capital like Dubai. You go to Tokyo, you're gonna find some very tall buildings. Manhattan, right? Oh, I'm sorry, some of the buildings got knocked down, and it was sad. And now they have taller. I shouldn't make 9/11 jokes. Down with the U.S. Empire and but you can find capitals of capitalism because they tend to have large concentrations of huge amounts of money and power. And Silicon Valley, and these places. These are some of them. And those places, the culture that they produce, and the United States as a whole produces vast quantities of that kind of culture. It doesn't care about art. It doesn't care about writing. It doesn't like. Those people might want to see some movies, but they don't really care about the process of being a complete human being with a soul. They like being vampires, vampire squid, Galactuses. They like being automatons. They like dehumanizing themselves into T-800s, but seeking money that cannot be bargained with, cannot be reasoned with, and will not stop until they kill everyone and have all the monies, right? So there's people that like they don't really want to. They don't care to learn about being creative. They don't care what happens to the artists when, right? For example, Sam Altman says, we need to keep stealing artists and writers and scraping content from the internet without consent, or we won't be able to make money. He just said that, right? So they don't care about that. They don't really know about that. They don't really want to do art. And that's why those are the people who are willing to say, right? Like the teacher I was talking about, oh yeah, well, we'll just have students use ChatGPT, and we can write novels. Look, I wrote 6 novels. Remember Willy Wonka's Magical Wonderland? So that was another one of those people. He was in a capitalist culture, right? Willie's Chocolate Experience. He's like, well, I can just have generative AI write me the script for a Saturday event, and we had the Breaking Bad Meth Lab Oompa Loompa. Remember that? But the script was horrible, and the actual creative people, right? So like there was a director, and there were I think the writer of this article about it was the person who was set to direct it, or one of the actors in it. And they had actors, they had set designers, right? They had like people who like put on plays, and they put on events and festivals, and they have like children's show. They probably work on children's shows, children's plays, right? Make children's centers. Some of them are probably teachers, right? And people that do caring work and creative work, right? And so that is not viewed as, in the Western culture, that's definitely not viewed as male stuff to be doing. That's why Tom Hardy said. Somebody asked Tom Hardy, did you ever have gay sex? And Tom Hardy said, obviously, I'm an actor, right? But I mean, it's kind of a joke, but it's also kind of not. It's not acceptable to be a really creative, in touch with your feelings person as certainly a Western man. That is not part of your gender. You have to be a killer, tough guy, businessman. You only care about the money and the numbers, right? You have to be a soulless Skynet Terminator. That's like part of the gender. I mean, I'm not saying every Western man is a Terminator, but that's part of what is expected. You don't do creative stuff. You make money exploiting the labor value of other creative people, usually women or non-white people or queer people. And so that's why there's kind of a split. There's obviously in the last several years, right? There's been many creative people, which is, it tends to be women and queer people and non-white people a lot of the time that are even the most exploited. They're saying, don't use generative AI. Don't use ChatGPT. Don't use Stable Diffusion. Don't use these AI generators because they're stealing our art. They're stealing our creativity. They're stealing our material. And they're turning that into their own money. We're not getting compensated. They're turning that into badly generated badly rehashed versions that are slightly different from ours, but are basically ours. Sometimes you can even see the signatures right underneath it. I remember in 2022 when this first started happening, and it was and obviously I'm a queer artist. I make art. I program and I do art and I do writing. I do all of it. I also have to do business stuff, which I don't really like doing that, to be honest, because we stopped selling Neofeud. Like, well, I'm kind of doing that right now at the same time. You have to wear all the hats. You have to be all genders. If you want to succeed in business, or in any kind of not completely horrible and certainly indie business, you have to be able to do many things. But like, having to, those people who are impacted by the generative AI, right? They stopped. They said we got to stop using this. We got to boycott this. This is horrible. Please tell everybody to stop using, in particular, right, the ChatGPTs. I forget all of them. Stable Diffusion, the DALL-E, because they were taking people's data, they were taking people's writing, they were taking people's art without permission, openly admitted by the head of the high priest of AI, Sam Altman, right? And he said we can't make money if we don't steal people's content without, right? If we don't steal people's content, just like his ancestors before him. If we don't steal all of China's silk tea and copper and all of Africa's resources and slaves and all of Native Americans' land, how are we going to make any money, right? Well, maybe you could get a real job and work and stop being a professional psychopath, right? Well, that's Western man gender, apparently, just taking other people's stuff without permission and then killing them and hiding the bodies. It's called West Asia, right? Take a look at what's happening, right? Look at Trump's hotel in his latest generative AI ad using Grok with him and Elon, right? Eating over all the bodies of the unalive children in GAZA, right? But Trump is just mask off Western capitalist culture, right? He's just like, yeah, I'm gonna take their land. I want to build a resort and make a lot of money. Trump, Gaza, let's go. Right? But that's the liberals. It's just about pretending like they don't do that while they do that. So that same kind of mentality that, I'm just gonna take your stuff, I'm gonna kill you. If I can, I'll kill you. I'll get other people to kill you. I'll get other exploited people like displace black, brown, and indigenous people from around the world from other wars I made to go kill you. It's called the U.S. military, right? It's like all the poor people that I sucked out of other people's countries, destroying and sanctioning them. I'm going to send them to kill you. If I can, then I'll take all your land, then I'll build another hotel on it, and then I'll use that as a base, forward operating base, to kill more people and destroy more countries and take more stuff, right? It's called imperialism. It's called capitalism. It's called colonialism. And digital version of that is just, oh, I can steal your stuff. I can take your art. I can take your writing. I can take your deviant art anime poster. I can take your, I can take your Neofeud content. I can take your, science fiction drawing. I can take your movie. Oh, I'll take it. Do you have enough lawyers? No, you don't have enough. Do you have the ability to withstand me? No, because I'm Sam Altman. I am the Empire, right? I am Skynet. I will take, and I will not stop. I will not stop. I can't be bargained with. I have to keep doing that because that's my culture. It's I lie, cheat, steal, and I do it in the digital domain. And obviously people try to resist it, but it had been very difficult. There had been a large swath of the population had been turned against AI, being like, oh my gosh, are you using AI? Why are you using AI for, right? It's always this kind of this, remember from the last several years, there was a split. Because some people were just like, I mean, what? It's not hurting anybody. I just want to see lots of cozy cabin crew, right? I just want to see Shrimp Jesus. I just want to show Shrimp Jesus again, just for fun. It was something they were right also. I want to see Shrimp Jesuses. I like seeing cozy cabin crew. On my Facebook. Remember that? I don't know if they still post this kind of stuff, all right? I want to see Gen AI, people in the white sand beaches with their arms and legs made out of lobsters, and like mud inside of aircrafts, rescuing, remember this era? I don't know if they still post this, but I want to see Jesus with spider legs, rainbows in the, Asian. It's always Asian flight attendants being rescued by Spider Jesus, and then there was like cyberpunk cyber arm man with 25 fingers, not because of cyberpunk, but because it was generative AI. Remember this? And like some people, like the people that were like, oh yeah, that's really cool, oh wow, that's a really neat cake you made. That cake is like, why does that cake look like it's made out of like 5,000 pieces of string? How did you make it that way? And other people, right? Usually it was, older people, wealthier people, people that, just not working creative people, right? They were all like just consuming this stuff. I don't know what they were just looking at it and liking it, and other people were like, that's AI. Hey, grandma, that's AI. Hey, uncle, that's AI. What are you doing looking? Stop sharing this AI pictures to me. Like, I am being displaced by all of these, plagiarism software, stochastic parroting, meta crap. Stop sharing this stuff, right? This is bad, right? And, so that was a real split. I'm just trying to recall the last several years. I know recalling anything past the last 20 seconds is not in vogue or cool anymore. It's not the vibe right now, that's closer to the present. The vibe, let's not talk about what happened last year. Let's just talk about what's happening in the last 5 seconds, because that's what will get me clicks, and also that is what will we forgot the last 25 wars we fought. This war is totally different. Our country hasn't changed. Same horrible system, same horrible oligarchy, same horrible imperialists. In fact, maybe even worse. But this war is different from the last 100 wars that we have fought that were completely, GENOCIDAL and for profit and billionaires and Raytheon executives, right? So, but that's also where that's the Ensh. Can I say the S word now? That's where gentrification comes in too, because if you can liquefy people's memories and destroy and control their ability to even recall and find information, that's part of what's happened. That's why they banned TikTok, which, by the way, is still going through. Just I'll play on that. I don't know where the red note is now, but I heard that there are some Americans that have gone back to TikTok, and there's less on Little Red Note, and so that's too bad. But I feel like they're gonna. Xiaohongshu is also banned, by the way. You gotta follow me before you get banned. I said the U.S. is gonna try to ban this and get rid of it, stop Americans from using it, because the U.S. can't stand communist, socialist, anything, including social media. So, you gotta follow me, Silver Spook, before they ban it. On Xiaohongshu, also known as Red Note or Little Red Book. Join the Socialist Communist Party moderated social media platform before it gets completely banned and taken away. It's actually banned in Texas. So some U.S. states have made it illegal to use the Chinese social media platform Redbook or Xiaohongshu. The United States is making it $1 million fine or 20 years in prison for using Deepseek. They're working on pushing that through. Because that's just normal fucked up evil Western capitalist activity, obviously. Anyway, let's come back to the topic though. Also, what's up, Victor? So onto the enshittification. I keep dancing around it. I feel, but I definitely think that it's worth recounting the last several years of what has happened. That has already been part of that process, right? Enshittification is a term coined by the science fiction, cyberpunk, speculative fiction author Cory Doctorow, who's also a friend of William Gibson, the original cyberpunk author who wrote Neuromancer, but which is what The Matrix and a lot of Terminator comes out of. And so that era of science fiction, I Have No Mother and I'm a Scream, which was also another big inspiration by what's his name, Harlan Ellison. But Cory Doctorow, who coined the term enshittification, was referring to the tendency when tech companies get big to, over time, the quality of the software and the user experience on the platform, whether that's Amazon, whether that's this platform, whether it's the search engine like Google, whether that is social media, whatever it is, the platform, the tech companies, the social media, or just big tech services get worse and worse and worse, and as they squeeze money out of the users that they have a monopoly in, right? It's kind of like the other side of Peter Thiel's statement. Tech companies, we must seek monopoly. That's how you make money. And then, so when you get monopoly, then you don't need to produce. That's not, when you reach monopoly, then you don't need to produce as high quality services, and then you can allow the services to get worse, thereby squeezing more and more money from your digital techno-feudal serfs, right? And people are like, oh my God, why can't I Google anything anymore? It's broken. Why am I getting, why is the, I'm getting overcharged for Netflix? Why is the price of my streaming service going up, right? And the shows are coming out, they're getting canceled within within the first season, they drop it and the shows disappear, and then they cancel the next season. The quality of the shows is going down. They're paying the artists and the writers are still trying to figure out how they're going to make any money with a 27 cents residuals, right? Like remember the SAG-AFTRA strike, and these platforms are just, now that they have these huge monopolies, they're just like squeezing us for money. That's not really a new, but in the West, you have to come up with new words to describe old things, because that's how people dance around solving their problems, right? Is by coming up with elaborate new words and neologisms and big idea books that they can publish, and people can read them, and then that's called liberal solutions to capitalism, which is to say never solve them, but waste people's neurons. I'm not saying that it's a waste of time. Otherwise, nobody would buy Neofeud. But I do feel like there is intellectual activity and words and content that doesn't just circle around and change what the problem is. We're drinking too much coffee. The problem is we're not drinking enough coffee. The problem is enshittification. The problem is we got to vote Democrat. The problem is we voted Democrat. We got to vote Republican. The problem is we voted Republican. We got to vote Democrat. The problem is, we have too much regulation. The problem is we have not enough regulation. Right? It's just dancing and dancing. There's a thing we can't even really talk about what needs to happen on this stream that will really solve those problems. But find your local socialist, communist, or other organization and figure that out. And particularly Black, indigenous, people of color, and most marginalized led organizations. You will figure that out. We can't really talk about that specifically, but enshittification is, my point is that enshittification is not a particularly new phenomenon. It's just that's just capitalist, capitalist process. Like once monopoly was gained over, whether that was, the phone companies, right? Then the prices went up, right? When there was more competition in like rail, it was a bit lower. And then when the rail got monopoly, prices went up. The quality of rail went down. I don't know. Have you seen a map of the United States and how much high-speed rail has been built? I'll give you a hint. It starts with the letter or number 0. Okay. Have you seen the quality of the American railways? Right. Do you wonder why there's increasing derailments? What happened in not just Palestine, East Palestine, Ohio, right? And all the victims of that massive plumes of polyvinyl chloride causing permanent damage to lungs, body, increased cancer rates, right? That's enshittification of your transportation network, right? So this is not, that's just capitalist process that leads to monopoly. I was Marxist economist Richard Wolff pointed out that's the process of inevitable direction towards monopoly of all capitalist societies and industries, right? They tend to eat each other, consume each other. Then you'll have usually one or a tiny number of winners, right? And then the quality of the products decreases, the safety of the products decreases, the quality for the workers goes down, and the cost of the products go up to squeeze as much profit, out of the people as possible. And so, the big techs are all just, this is not, Peter Thiel is not saying anything really new, right? Peter Thiel is just saying out loud, right, what has always been the practice, right? Consolidate, maximize your market share, and then squeeze everybody for as much money as possible. So, in that sense, that's not really a new thing. I mean, but the way, obviously there wasn't an internet company in 1908 or 1970, and so that is it is qualitatively different in some ways, that the like you have companies that can span the entire earth, and they are directly interfacing with people on a constant granular basis, right? So it's similar to TV, right? The technology of the internet is similar to TV, but it's more pervasive, right? It's also interactive, and you can also get in between individual people's peer-to-peer interactions. That's also different. But then I would say it's just a hot trendy word, so we got to use that because we're talking through the West. But enshittification is basically, it's that process of the quality going down because it costs less to supply low quality products. Like, for example, Boeing planes. And then it's cheaper. It's cheaper to assassinate two whistleblowers and buy the U.S. government than to spend billions of dollars hiring competent engineers and paying for billions of dollars worth of quality insurance to make sure your planes don't crash. Right. So that's enshittification of the airplane. It's just, or it's called normal capitalism collapse our face of your airplane company. So, or power, right? Rolling blackouts, power outages. The United States has increased total electrical output by less than 3% over the last 40 years. By extension, China has, vastly, double digit or multiplied its total power generation in terms of, and most of it's actually renewable now. They hit peak oil, peak carbon emissions, or peak usage of fossil fuel last year. They're dropping now, right? U.S., right? It's enshittified, or it has done normal capitalism to its power industry, right? Still using all dirty fuel. It doesn't matter how many green parties the U.S. makes and how many times AOC and they talk about, we want to be green, we're gonna have a Green New Deal, and talking about other, China is dirty, bad, backwards, emitting so much fossil fuel. It's just like, they make all your stuff, so you still have. If you look at the collective West, they have the vast majority, 90% of all emissions of the Earth, U.S. and Europe. And if you look at even now what they're producing, the power usage of China, they're producing the world's products, so that should count towards the total output of Americans. The total carbon emissions of Americans should include some of the factory work that's done overseas if they're consuming those products. And so so when it comes to power, the quality of the power in the U.S. is still mostly fossil fuel. Very little move on that, and it's also not gone up. So, the tech companies causing overusage of electricity, causing water shortages because the water is running out, because people are having more droughts, which also causes more wildfires, is exacerbated by the AI, right? Getting the AI companies who need vast quantities of this fresh water to cool their systems. In California, it's actually caused actual pipes to run dry just to feed the huge data centers for these generative AI to power the heat sinks. And so then the enshittification of your power system, because the thing is, if you had enough power generation, ideally clean power generation, like if the United States had actually built some electrical, some actual large solar farms, like China has like solar farms that are 10 miles long. I mean, it has a 3,000. It's like the size of Germany, a giant ring of undesertified region, and then right around that there's massive solar farms, right? One Chinese solar farm, I think it's enough power, it generates enough power for 30 million American households. One of their projects. That's just one of their projects, right? If the U.S. had built solar farms, if the U.S. had built really gotten serious, right? If Elon was serious about climate change, he's not. He just wants to make a ton of money, and he watched too many science fiction movies, right? And he likes triangular Cybertrucks or something, but he doesn't really care about the climate. If he really did, right, he wouldn't have produced the Hyperloop in order to stop the building of high-speed rail, which he's admitted. That's what he did, because that actually would have reduced total carbon usage. It would reduce the multi-trillion-dollar waste of the car industry, right? And so if the U.S. really was serious, not just Elon, but the whole U.S. and the collective West and the capitalists were serious, they would actually have built out. Well, they wouldn't be tariffing Chinese solar panels, Chinese renewable tech, Chinese super cheap EVs, high quality EVs with 100% markups, right? If they really cared, they would just buy those solar panels, install them, and go green, right? But they don't, and they haven't. The thing is, the U.S. could increase its actual power output so that it wouldn't have blackouts due to increased demand, especially increased skyrocket. That's why Sam Altman said, we're going to need nuclear fusion. Sam Altman just sits over there. All he does all day is sit around and go I hope I don't get in trouble for doing this horrible, get more into this. His sister is accusing him of all kinds of things, and he's been through court processes, but he has the money to basically buy the U.S. courts, which are for sale. That's why the ICC is also for sale, apparently. And so Sam sits around and he goes what can I say today to make another $50 trillion by telling, investor clowns and the U.S. that, we're gonna solve cancer, and we're gonna build. You can have an immortal body and stop existential. AI is an existential threat to humanity. They're gonna have killer robots, but also the only people that can stop it is if you give me all of the money. And China also has AI, but they're making bad AI over there. And the Chinese AI is the Chinese AI is like Emperor Xi Jinping, evil red dragon. Let me grab the racist trope book over here. Let me just look at New York Times. What did you just say about China? The Chinese AI is doing forced Uyghur labor camp. Chinese AI is inserting IUDs into children. The Chinese AI is catching all of Japan's dolphins and killing them. The Chinese AI is the Chinese AI doesn't put its pronouns or something, right? The Chinese AI was made with colonialism. The Chinese AI, never mind, we use underpaid $1 an hour Kenyans to look at all of the beheaded bodies and get rid of the disgusting ultra violence inside of our scrape stolen content. The Chinese AI uses the dead Palestinian children to train Deepseek. That's what Sam Altman does. So the U.S. and like they could, right? The thing is, because Deepseek does use power. The thing is, it's another important factor. Deepseek uses like 5%. It's a tiny fraction of the power. Again, I know I talked about this last time, but you can run Deepseek on a Raspberry Pi. You can run it on just a standard desktop computer, a laptop. Some people have run it on a microwave. Some people we can run Deepseek on your fridge. You can run it on your phone, right? It's open source. It doesn't use a lot of power, right? So that's another thing. If the U.S. capitalist, right, it's Enshitified, aka normal capitalistified, AI was like open source socialism with Chinese characteristics, Deepseek, they could have reduced the power consumption, right? Even for Meta, even for ChatGPT, they could have figured out, right? If they had real competent engineers, or they paid. The thing is, people who are, I'm not saying that America don't have any competent engineers. There are competent engineers in the United States. Technically, I'm in the United States as a native Hawaiian in U.S. occupied Hawaii, but the U.S. and its territories have competent engineers, but they don't get hired or remain hired at the U.S. capitalist big tech companies. Because I've heard from some of the engineers that I tried to like say we could do this more efficiently, or we could what if we did open source? Actually, like, you're called OpenAI, why don't you want to do open source? And Tamon was like, well, I know we say we're open, but that's just to attract young, smart communists or left-leaning, progressive people. We're not open, or we just say that because we're liars, right? Because that's normal Western culture, Western capitalist culture. So closed OpenAI, right, has people that were like, we could, because even Eric Schmidt and like Bill Gates came out and said, if we don't make Meta and Grok and OpenAI actually open, we're gonna fall behind in the global AI competition, right? So, but Eric Schmidt is also one of these horrible, just disgusting creeps. He's the one who said like, our goal is to control everybody's mind and be like, I want to be like Pinky and the brain. I want to be like Lex Luthor. That's basically Eric Schmidt. Right? He was like, he predated Elon and all these other people. He's just like, I just want to run the world and just like control everybody's brains. I literally want mind control. I want to be like the bad guy from the Dungeons and Dragons movie, right? I just want to like, Mordor is just Mordor and it's like Sauron mind control is just like a mission of guilt of the West and people like Eric Schmidt and all of his predecessors from Britain. So I want to control everybody's brains and make sure that they all believe that isn't real has the right to defend itself, and the U.S. deserves to run the world. And colonization never happened. I mean, think about it. If you could control everybody's brain by having a Neuralink that has an OpenAI ChatGPT, Google ChatGPT tech, or even just in everybody's screen, right? So everything that they see is controlled by, white capitalist, imperialist descendants of Lord Elgin and Winston Churchill, who killed 27 million Indians and laughed about it in India during the Bengal famine, more than Hitler. If you're like one of those people that still wants to rule the world under a colonial capitalist system, this is your number one goal, right? Because the world is moving towards a more plural, diverse, multipolar. Many countries are moving more. They're finding the socialism more and more interesting. This is what the World War II was fought over, was to keep the global plantation slaves on the slave plantation. That's what the global colonialism, slave plantation. There's some in-house slaves. There's the imported in to do your cooking and cleaning inside. You need some of those, and also to, right? You need some Chinese and Indian slaves to program all your tech for you because you can't do it yourself. But then that's who works in Silicon Valley. So that there's a Chinese Deepseek is Chinese in China versus Chinese traders in America working for OpenAI, right? Look at the pictures of the team. So you need, right? But the goal was always to control the entire world's population, but it also required controlling the minds of the world's population. That's why every colonized country that would remain very poor also tended to have very, very low literacy rates, right? And the black people as slaves in America were banned from reading. They were punished for reading books, right? And when they came to cities, part of why Atlanta started is because all these African Americans came into cities and they started reading books and saying, what the hell are we still doing in this racist slave world where white man runs everything? And then that pissed people off, and that's why the white capitalist United States has been trying to destroy and bombed, many of this any attempts for them to build any kind of large scale of business, and they've been trying to basically that's why all the United States biolabs, all the CDC is in Atlanta, so the United States when it figures out how to have a African DNA target. This is what 23andMe Ancestry.com is for. Is so that when they create a perfect weapon that will target only African DNA, they can wipe everybody out. They can release it in Atlanta. There's a TV show about it. It is called Containment. You can go watch it. I'm just joking. The U.S. would never wipe out black people, Russians, or Chinese with a biological weapon. That's totally nonfiction. And Unit 731 doesn't exist. I'm just totally just joking about that. Anyways, so, but if you want to control, in all serious note, biological warfare controls populations by wiping them out, right? Smallpox blankets, cholera, mosquitoes, the COVID-19 that was proven to actually did kill black and brown, non-white people more than white people. And then that was the end of masking, right? Remember that happened? Because of colonizer solidarity, Caucasoid solidarity. And so the ability for to control the populations, right? And generally, also you can control populations by causing mass omnidification of people's neurons by getting reinfected by a BSL-3 level pathogen that causes microthrombosis and takes your neurons and basically shoots them one at a time and never leaves your body. And 100% of victims that died from COVID have found COVID inside of their heart tissue. So that's another way you can control everybody generally, is just to basically kill them and make them so weak bodily and so having such MACFS that they can't move more than 50 minutes a day, that they can't get to a strike, let alone boycott. Anyway, so controlling people biologically, but controlling them mentally is very important to keep them in it's the most important. So if you can control them digitally, then a small minority of descendants of the richest and most powerful people in the world that now live and they work through DC, right? It's a billionaire oligarchic elite. Those people can continue to run the world. And many of them, they really have a big thing for the settler colony in West Asia, in the Levant region, obviously. They can continue to control everybody's the narratives. If they could figure out a way to get everybody stuck inside of Facebook, Twitter, ChatGPT, all their tech, they could basically rewrite history over time. They are doing that, actually. That's actually there is a process for doing that. That's why they're hiring psychologists. That's what Severance, in part, this is a TV show I really like, is partially about. I kind of still feel like a severed person sometimes, but it's a show about taking people's minds and splintering them and basically trying to control them by cutting them off from aspects of their life, their work versus home life, and then also later you learn even other splintering their brains in other ways to basically keep people completely controlled. But that's with direct medical interventions, inserting like small capsules with drilled holes in the back of people's skulls, right? And then radio activating these little, it's kind of like explosive pagers like in your head, right? That the United States rulers would like to give everybody so they can blow them up whenever they want. But it's like inside your head, and when you flip the switch, then it changes who you are, and they can with a flip of a switch from a central node at a major corporation, they can change everybody's mind whichever direction they want. I mean, it's the Eric Schmidt goal, right? Be able to tell people what and how to think and what to do at any particular time. It's just create a digital global slave plantation is the goal of OpenAI, is the goal of the United States generally, of the capitalist system generally, the imperialist system generally. And so that's the very dark dystopian version of this. But that's why there is a battle. Just as there was a battle. Like I know Holly's watching the C dramas about the communists in Shanghai, or a police drama, but it involves the communists and imperialists and foreign forces, including Japanese, French. Shanghai actually was a French occupation for a long time, and Hong Kong was the British occupation, right? And then so those are external colonizer forces inside of China, which was at least semi-colonized. And you could just say colonized, but it's not to the extent of Africa, but it was dominated, controlled, and looted and made poor by Britain, France, United States, and Japan. All the colonial powers, right? Just like they divided up Africa, they did divide up. They certainly divided the coast of China up. Taiwan is America and Japan, not the Americas. Shanghai was the French's, just like Lebanon and Palestine, which is the French and British of the Levant, right? They're their little cake carving of the Arab world. And then there was, Macau was Portuguese, Hong Kong was British. Only very recently, right? Only very recently was Hong Kong decolonized, or it was at least on paper given back. It's actually later than India, later than a lot of African countries, right? So it's kind of like this idea of, the colonialism is still alive in a lot of China. And I think China isn't poor because the Chinese are just inherently poor, right? It's the same kind of myths about black people and Africans. Oh, they're just poor because, they're just genetically inferior, or Africans and their African culture is, they just don't know how to develop themselves. They're not, as Michael Parenti pointed out, they are not underdeveloped, they're overexploited, right? And so the same for China. China was the wealthiest, richest place, and it was also well distributed under the Silk Road system, which is far more fair and equal. It's basically what BRICS in the multipolar world is trying to return, not the Marco Rubio's multipolar neo-mercantilism, but the Chinese, Russia-led BRICS is trying to return the world to more like pre-1492, actual win-win cooperation, Silk Road, each country's trading with each other, and China being a large fulcrum for a lot of the trade. But Chinese didn't send their warships to Africa, Asia, and Americas to dominate them. They simply traded with people, and people liked benefiting from trade with China, and China appreciated that, and everyone benefited together. And arguably, China did not dominate because, China did not dominate because of any particular weapon. China simply was the best at producing high quality products and interfacing and doing business in a positive way because of a long 3,500 year history of Chinese. It's too complex to handle right now, right? But that's where we're returning to today, right? China, like in the into the pre-1492 era, pre-Columbus colonialist era, imperialist, colonialist, capitalist era, China is now the number one trading partner of the world, right? So in one sense, we're already halfway there, right? The problem is that the colonizers, the Europeans and the European capitalist colonialists, all the usual suspects, that 4% of the world that calls itself the free democratic world leaders, right? These are all a sham. It's called the G7, and the BRICS has already surpassed them in total world output, in world population. By far, it's not even close. It's like they're half the world of the SCO, Belt and Road. This is the majority of the world. It's majority of the poorer world that are wanting to get out from this 500-year nightmare, right, of the colonial era, and so Chinese trade, and that includes digital trade, digital Chinese products like Deepseek are now gaining a lot of traction, because they're just simply better, right? This is actually like why Britain went to war with China, because the Chinese didn't want to buy inferior British woolen textiles, right? Now, it's not because the Chinese were like racist against the British, but it's just that there wasn't a lot of desire. It's kind of like this picture, right? A lot of people are like desiring the Deepseek because it performs better. The British wool it just didn't last as long. It wasn't as needed as other products that the Chinese had. So the British response was to send warships, kill 50,000 people with the French, steal the contents of the Summer Palace, and subjugate China and force heroin into their bodies. It's called the Opium Wars, and it's called the Century of Humiliation. Again, and I know I like to bring this point up, but this is it always can be repeated. The British, there was nothing like in the laws of thermodynamics, maybe in the laws of Westoid stupidity and malice, but there's nothing in the laws of thermodynamics to stop the British from training themselves, right? Just like the Americans. Americans could take the Chinese solar panels, allow the America's imperialists, like Marco Rubio is one of them, could have allowed the GM and Ford companies to allow the Chinese were willing to give away for very cheap battery technology, right? But the U.S. neocons and imperialists, the U.S. ruling class blocked it. They said no. They passed the laws. Senators, Rubio was one of them. He said, we're not going to have any Chinese technology in our American cars and trucks. And that completely, right? Now what is the Ford CEO is like, we can't compete. The Chinese, they have an entire circular ecosystem. They make the batteries. They have the resources. Every single part of the car that goes into making that car, they control the entire supply chain, right? What are we going to do? You could have stopped that. You could have partnered with the Chinese. You could have stopped being a supremacist, hegemonist. You could have stopped being a Lord Elgin. You could have stopped being a Queen Elizabeth. You could have stopped trying to be the Roman emperor of the world, sitting on, fiddling while your Rome burns. You could have partnered with the Chinese, built an electric vehicle, sold it under the Ford name, and you could have been at least selling some cars. You could have not tried to cut the Chinese solar. You could have allowed the Chinese solar panels to come in. Biden did this. This is under Trump. This is bipartisan. Allow the solar panels to come in. Allow the Chinese to help you increase your power supply by 50% or 20%, so people weren't being blacked out. So your carbon emissions was going down. So you didn't have increased risk of wildfires. And then you could have actually used that power to build some actual software like Deepseek. You could have done it. But you fired all of the United States corporations, OpenAI and Meta. They fired, or they just didn't listen to, all the high quality. They're not all Chinese, but a lot of them are. But I mean, there were white American programmers, there was black programmers, there's programmers from around the world of all genders and all. There was lots of Chinese programmers. But anybody who said we want to make something more like DeepSeek, they were just said no. All we got to do is we got to just keep buying NVIDIA chips. We got to just be investing in it. Let's buy another 1 trillion chips and let's use all the power we don't have to power OpenAI and power Meta. This is the same mistake this is why I say this is like a direct lineage to every Western colonialist empire. And the Romans made similar mistakes even in their time. They're not identical, but they had a collapsar phase with vast accumulations in the center, and their riches filled while their country burned, taking out insurance as their cities burned, like LA, right? Colosseums and Roman apartments were on fire. And the government was like the California government. Oh, well, let's just make sure we collect as much money from you. Let's make as much money not paying out insurance, making money, screwing you over with insurance. That's literally what Nero did. He actually took insurance out on some of his. He took with the equivalent of that on his own city, and he made money in the burning of the fire. He benefited from the burning of his own Roman cities. So you could have hired a fire department. You could have not allowed the few lithium battery power plants to be set on fire by the LA fire, by having a better fire department, which then released toxic fumes into the atmosphere, which have now polluted and toxified possibly 70% of America's vegetables. So if you buy any vegetables in America, any fresh greens, leafy produce, or even a broccoli, a cauliflower from America, you are eating incinerated heavy metal, rare earths. You're gonna have some very common rare earths in your vegan vegetables. So have fun dying. I'm just kidding. That would never happen. America would never do that to you. You're gonna be fine. So every time I get the broccoli, I'm like, fuck it. Where is this fucking from? I ain't buying no fucking Californian broccoli. The United States capitalist imperialists could have chosen to not do that. They could have chosen to have competent battery makers. They could have chosen to work with the Chinese. They could have chosen to, swallow their pride. Like the British could have chosen to swallow their pride, built better woolen products. If the British didn't know how to produce high quality products, right? Instead of what did the U.S. do? Send a bunch of military into the South China Sea. Send a bunch of military into Russia. Oh, we're having trouble with Russia. Let's try to blow them up with a proxy war. Oh, Iran and the Arab world, they might start to join the Bilderberg. What? Let's try to blow them up. Let's start wars all over the Middle East. But this is just this again. This is a direct line. So the Romans did that too. If you try to get out of the denarius, which they were hyperinflating, so they were clipping with the exorbitant privilege of the Roman denarius. Everyone had to use the denarius in that whole entire region. If you did it, that's when they would invade you, right? Just like if you don't use the U.S. dollar, U.S. sanctions and invade you. Ask Venezuela, right? Ask Libya. That's just Roman procedures, right? Build global hegemonic reserve currency status, force everyone into your economic narrative and system, and maintain it with military control. The British, aspired to the same thing. They never got full hegemony planet. Why? Because they had to split it amongst the Europeans. But if you add all the Europeans up together, Europe should just be viewed as, the last 500 years of Europe is just an expanded Rome in that sense. Controlling the world militarily, using attacks, forcing everyone to render unto, their Londons and their Parises, their goods and value while they were kept in impoverishment, benefiting a tiny minority disproportionately inside their mega cities, and not allowing any competition, not allowing win-win cooperation. This is why they were cut out. This is why Europe was cut out of the Silk Road for a long time. It's because the kind of people that were there, they were not the kind of people they were not conducive to. When they didn't want to do win-win trade, right? The difference was after 1492, then they figured out. They had the many inventions, including the Bastille, like the style of Italian palaces, and also the gunpowder that they'd stolen from China, right? Just like the U.S. is trying to steal drone technology because they're behind on drones now. The U.S. is trying to steal unitary robots because they're behind on robots. But the U.S. is trying to steal unitary robots to make Skynet Terminators to send back into Beijing and into Ukraine and into Russia and into Iran, and after its own population that's about to start revolution and overthrow the United States. So you can play my game Terminus Machina to see how that goes. So, but that's the same thing, where it's like take the advanced technology that the socialist non-Western world has produces and turn that into a weapon. Gunpowder into gun. I know I've made that point before, but gunpowder into guns. Fireworks. Entertainment technology in China became weapons in Europe, right? Drones are mostly used for entertainment in China, and also for getting people delivering lamb and vegetables to high mountainous regions in Yunnan and in Inner Mongolia. So they're used for transportation and for entertainment. And the U.S. is like, give us all the Chinese drones so that we can make million drone swarms, because America can't do that. Now the difference is China is like, okay, well, we're not gonna fall for that again. We're not gonna let you do that again. But the same mentality of like, we will make a better quality wool, right? Rather than the British could have said, China, please teach us how to make better quality products that you want. China will stop being racist, anti-Asian, xenophobic, China bad article writing British, right? Because part of the reason why Britain couldn't sell products to China, and they still can't, and Europe has trouble with that, is because they're too racist. If you want, this is very important too. If you want to be able to sell a product to a place, if you are like despising that place, if you are talking such lies about that place, how are you? People don't want to do business with you. People don't want to buy your product. I mean, you know this, right? When people find out, oh my God, McDonald's, you're making Big Macs and selling French fries that's feeding the armies that are killing children, I'm not going to buy your McDonald's anymore. I mean, it's pretty simple. I mean, right? I mean, you think this would be simple. And the McDonald's solution is, I'm going to shove this down your motherfucking throat by trying, right? It's always violence. It's always like just more marketing, more brainwashing. If I give you 1 million ads per second on YouTube, if I try to get, Lil John to fucking, okay, and eat a fucking hamburger, are you going to buy my hamburger? Right? It's not like it's not stop doing evil for Western culture. It's like, I want to keep doing evil, but then also make you eat my shit. Like, I'm going to keep doing evil, but you also have to shoot my opium up. Have an opium war, You know, it's like you gotta keep taking my narco trafficking, and I'm gonna choose China. I'm gonna accuse China and Canada and Mexico of trafficking fentanyl. Well, America is the biggest narco trafficker, just like their predecessors. That's what the Opium Wars was. Opium was the fentanyl of the 1840s, right? And Britain was like, what are the? You know, there's actually American and British authors, and they actually said the Chinese are the number one opium traffickers of the world. They're just bringing all of this filthy opium in. They said the same thing, right? The British were like, the Chinese are moving opium through evil French. You know, French are a middleman trafficking the Chinese opium into our innocent little British writers. And that's why, you know, Edgar Allan Poe is, you know, he forgot how to spell raven properly that one time. Nevermore. You know, to the Chinese opium, nevermore. But America is doing the same thing. Anyways. People don't want to buy your products, whether those are chat, whether those are AI, whether those are textiles like British wool, whether those are, you know, American cars or American whatevers, right? People are not American hamburgers. People are not going to want to buy your products if they're A, low quality, B, overpriced, C, you insult them all the time and lie about them all the time, and you're just racist. And the solution, this is the hard part. The solution is stop being horrible. But that's impossible for Western culture. It's not impossible, but it has been difficult up until now. I mean, hopefully the $56 trillion question, I should say the 56 trillion yuan question, because they're not going to use American dollars soon, is they're going to use the digital BRICS currencies and other or just barter between the various nations, or they'll just be communism, and Americans will be trading their monopoly money to each other for a fucking ounce of fuel to keep themselves from freezing or burning in their houses in the winter and summer respectively. Will the West be able to stop that process and stop inshitifying, which is to say capitalism colonialismifying themselves and their products and their AI? And will they be able to join in the in socialization of the world, which is where things are which is where things are heading? Deepseek is just the beginning of this, and I'm already like, it's getting late. I gotta end. Also, what's up to McLub, and thanks a lot for donating last time. I'm sorry if you already left, but thanks a lot. And anyways. So, but just before we end, the most recent update is that Deepseek is in fact, this is another big deal, right? Speaking of power, the Chinese just discovered fuel for 60,000 years worth of cleaner, more efficient thorium material just in some of their deposits. So, if the United States, says we would like to become a tributary of the Chinese international system, we're a tributary government. And bends the knee, or not, you have to bend the knee, I'm just joking, but if they would like to stop trying to make war and control the world and dominate the world, just like the Fox News anchor just said, we run the world. He just came out and said that. Zelensky doesn't tell us what to do. We run the world. America runs the world. It's our world. You are our proxy. He just came out and said it like that. So it was so, it's like, good on you, America, owning up your own, horribleness. Good job owning your own barbarity. We run the world. I just said it right there, right? So you don't have to run the world, but if you want to, you have to give. The articles are like, America is giving China the world. America is giving China control of the world. China doesn't want to control the world. I know you can say that till you're blue in the face, but the average Western brainwashed mind can't hear that. They don't know how to. I don't know how to deal with that. It's very difficult. It's like we have to figure out how to deal with that. It's so deep, especially liberals. Actually, liberals and conservatives both. But I feel liberals even they can't understand a world where somebody is not puppeteering everyone else. Anyways, but it's like if you want to have power, you're gonna want to work with the countries that are doing the best. Again, like. Whether that's most advanced nuclear thorium reactors, whether that's solar panels, whether that's EVs, whether that's AI, you gotta figure this out. Okay, where's the other one? I know I saved it here. I thought I did. Maybe I forgot to. Uh, oh, I think maybe I just posted it. Yeah. So the DeepSeek AI, the DeepSeek AI has just it is 20 times less than OpenAI, and it is still great. And OpenAI, Microsoft CEO, right? What did they just say? Microsoft CEO admitted that AI is generating basically no profit, which means that no value, right? And so what that means is that he's saying that like we wasted all that money. What is the goal? The goal of these are even under their own system, their own ideology, their own rationale, right? Their own, raison d'etre. The purpose of these companies are to make money, is to generate value, and he's saying that AI is generating basically no value. And Microsoft, this is a major player in the field. They just admitted this week that they said we're not gonna buy any more NVIDIA chips. We're gonna be massively scaling back because it's a waste of money to buy these. NVIDIA was so inflated, like $3 trillion. It was like one of the highest valued companies of all time, and obviously inflated just like Tesla and all of Elon's companies. But it was based upon this AI hype, this nonsense, generative AI. And we need all the chips and we're going to keep them out of China's hands with these tariffs and sanctions and banning China from getting this and the other thing to win this nonsense competition. And now it's come out and says actually this generative AI that we have is basically making no value. Now the thing is, I don't believe, again, like I said, right? The business, like this guy also doesn't understand. He's just a CEO. This guy is like Vivek Ramaswamy or Elon. These people don't know what the hell they're doing. They just give me money and I'll lie to other people and move my money around and then try to get more money from the places that already got money. That's most of this Western investor class. They're just privileged, spoiled, failed sons of empire anyway. But it is true. I mean, if even a fool like a Western CEO can look at their spreadsheet once in a while. I mean, it took them a while to figure this out, obviously. And say, oh, wow, we're not actually making money from generating, we're not using like 10% of the freaking US electrical grid with billions of dollars of chips, all this wasted power. We're just moving shrimp Jesuses and we're moving sludge McDonald's ads and shrimp Jesuses back and forth on the internet, right? We're just telling people to eat glue and eat poisonous mushrooms. How is that, right? We're wasting it. It costs 10 times as much electricity to do a single Google search than to do a AI assisted Google search, right? Or to do an AI assisted is 10 times more. So we're just wasting power because the AI searches are often worse than the regular search. They give false information. So, right? So we are wasting all of our money. They're admitting now that not because they want to. Because the CEO don't care. The CEO, he doesn't freaking care. All the CEO cares about is he makes more money, right? And as I said, I made many videos about neo-feudal collapsar, self-annihilatory capitalism, right? They don't care. Companies don't need to make products or make value. This is the thing. Microsoft doesn't need to make value. Boeing doesn't need to make planes that don't crash. Tesla doesn't need to make more competent cars than Toyota or GM, right? The companies, what they've been doing is just making hype, not making products, and then just taking and corporate buying back their own stock and using that money and running away with the free money. It's just printing money, giving it to themselves. The companies are just names. They're like stock tickers. The companies are just little placeholders, right? With some signs and some people sitting around in an office, in Palo Alto or in Texas somewhere going, I think I'm making AI, but I don't really know what the fuck I'm doing, right? We got to go cheat. Let's go copy the Deepseek programmer's homework because I don't know what the fuck I'm doing right now, right? But I'm the fail son of some rich white guy who probably got me. He called up Mark Zuckerberg or Elon and got me this job in here. That's the DEI hire, is the rich white fail son, right? That gets to sit there and get paid twice as much while there's probably some Chinese person that's actually, if there is any coding that has to be done, it's an Indian or Chinese person that's got a H1B visa that's like, oh God, why did I come to America doing this stupid job? I gotta pay 50,000 times as much for my healthcare. I want to go back to China. Fuck. But Elon said he'll shoot my dog if I ever leave this company. I have to hang out with big balls. Fuck. So that's what it is. That's never come to America. It's the worst decision you ever make. It's the worst place in the world. Microsoft CEO. Anyway, so Deepseek is open source, charges 20 times more. So if Microsoft is saying, okay, well, we're not making any value. They're not. They're not making any profit. They're not making any real profit. Money is coming in, again, from investors, right? People that, as I said, they don't understand AI. They're not computer programmers. They do not understand the technology. It's a tulip craze. It's Ponzi real estate. It's the 0809 financial crisis. It's the .com craze of the 2000. It's the Y2K era, right? I don't know what, people are money's flooding into that. I'm going to go buy some of that. It's NFTs Redux. This is a crypto scam all over again. All right. I don't know. It seems like that's making money. I'm just a greedy bastard. I just want to make some money because I'm a Western capitalist. Put money in that, right? And as long as the money keeps flowing, just like the run up to the 09 financial crisis with the no income, no jobs, no assets, subprime mortgage loans, as long as there are suckers coming in. That's the purpose of the original Mr. Ponzi who created that scheme. It's not the first person to ever do that, but it was famous because a lot of money was lost and stolen by him, scammed out of other people. As long as money is coming in, Bernie Madoff, same thing, right? As long as money is coming in, right, to the capitalist pyramid scheme, you can keep it going, right? But if suddenly large players, if a few small people say, you know what, if 10 people say, you know what, I don't want to buy any more houses in California or Florida, right? That's not gonna bust the housing bubble. But if there's a liquidity shock, you have a mega bank go under like Lehman Brothers, and then all of a sudden that has knock-on impacts. You have lots of people getting spooked, right? It's all psychological, right? It's to a large sense. Well, it's a real fraudulent reality that gets revealed through the psychological contagion as people figure out, oh my God, this is a scam. I want to get out before I lose all my money, right? And so Microsoft CEO, they were already losing money. Let's be clear. The day that DeepSeek came out, it was like the largest single day of the Nasdaq stock. The Nasdaq price dropped, greatest single day drop ever, and it bounced back a bit, but they haven't come back to where they were. They're not. The AI tulip bubble is not restabilized. So Microsoft CEO coming out and saying this is he's just admitting what has been definitely the case for a long time, right? He's not really discovering this. It's just kind of like, well, he's saying that to get ahead of the fact that they're going to be forced out, not because they want to. They're going to be forced out of this bubble because DeepSeek and other open source AIs like that, and what it's doing is it is making it undeniable, right, that there is an alternative. It's kind of like the Chinese Belt and Road Initiative, right? The non-debt trap Chinese system of win-win cooperation of giving infrastructure, making very on average like maybe half or less interest rate and very forgivable loans. China has never taken anyone's infrastructure and core like healthcare, housing, land, or resources based upon an African or South American or Cuban loan that they've defaulted on, if they ever have these. They always, if anything, give extra benefit to those that are more impoverished than them, the countries that are, right? And so in the same way that U.S. is losing Africa, Asia, and the West and the U.S. at the helm of that is losing Africa, Central South America, and a lot of Asia and the Pacific to China, BRICS, and their new system, right? Silk Road, socialist path of various characteristics, multipolar system. Not because China blew up all the American bases, not because China went in with Chinese PLA soldiers and Navy and Taipodong missiles and blew up all the AFRICOM bases, right? It didn't go and win a war against all of the Americans and other vassals in Saudi Arabia, many other countries joining BRICS and Arab countries. China didn't go and defeat the American Contras and School of America's trained death squads and overthrow all of America's puppet dictators in South America, Central America, right? China simply said, here is something that we made, right? Bolivia, would you like a satellite? Here's a free satellite. Bolivia, would you like to have tech transfer so you can use the lithium to make your own indigenously made Bolivian solar panels, Bolivian like AI power factories to help with your glass manufacturing to develop yourself? We, the Chinese, will give that to you. All we ask is that you trade with us. That's just a better deal than the United States. The US was like, how about Elon, the CIA, and a big bag of money in the AOS and a bunch of murderers under Janine Áñez, far-right and neoliberal US-backed government? How about we coup Bolivia and steal all your lithium as one of the world's largest lithium reserve countries? And Elon was like, we'll coup whoever we want, deal with it. And China was like, hold my tea, right? China's like, how about we like don't coup Bolivia, instead build win-win cooperation and bring many South and Central American countries into our trading networks? How about we build a free port for Peru instead of like just like threatening all these countries with tariffs? And similarly, how about we just build better non-theft based, non-giant capitalist, techno Skynet wannabe overlord dictator Eric Schmidt and Peter Thiel and Elon AI? Why don't we make like open source socialist like good AI? And guess what? It's actually the irony and the extreme irony is that OpenAI, the capitalist I'm not saying the Deepseek is not, they're not capitalist per se, but they're like, their goal, they've even said, is that we want to defeat billionaire oligarchs in the United States. We want to stop them from having a business model. We want to take them down. They said our goal is not just to make as much money as possible. So in that sense, like, some of these people actually work for hedge funds inside of China and big finance. That's part of the socialism of Chinese characteristics. Is the Communist Party ordered Deepseek, basically finance quants. They were programmers. It's basically what I was going to do when I was studying as a programmer. But I was like, I don't want to do that because good thing I didn't do that because I wouldn't want to be working for some freaking U.S. mega firm or mega big tech. But they basically, the government said you need to work on making artificial intelligence that actually functions and doesn't just like steal from people, and it is better. It's not closed source. We don't want these moats of these mega techs controlling the world. So that was the mission that was actually given to them. And Xi Jinping has personally met. There's a big conference with Huawei and Unitree, and the Deepseek leadership was like right there as some of the where they were seated. It suggests like their importance. And so the paradox is like Deepseek, which said we don't really care about making money. This is a side project for us. 2 months. I think it was a 2-month side project. That's what they said. We don't. If they really care about making money, they wouldn't have made it open source. Right? They would be trying to gatekeep more and make more money. Right? But the thing is, Deepseek is selling it 20 times cheaper. They're still 545%. That means a very high profit margin. Even though they're selling it just cents, but it's, Sam Altman wants to sell it for like $30 or $100 per token or for a million tokens or whatever. That's like how the sales go when it comes to AI, right? $100 or $30 for a million tokens. Deepseek sells for like cents or like $1 or $2, right? Like the Chinese food, like Chinese healthcare, everything else is like amazingly cheap and higher quality than American stuff. And even with that though, so the US AI is selling for like 20 times, 30 times as much as the Chinese AI, and they're still unprofitable despite being the socialist open source Chinese company is paradoxically more profitable than the US capitalist giant mega tech with like 100 times the funding, right? And it's like that's not even their goal, right? But there's other complications about like socialism with Chinese characteristics and like how can they be socialists if they have a company that's making money? Well, the thing is like what is the goal and what are they doing with the money that they're making and how is it governed and distributed? And it's like there are Chinese businesses that make money, but when they make money, then they reinvest. Like I was saying, right? If Silver Spoon Games made $1 million because like if 200,000 people bought Neofeud today, and I made like $2 million, then I'll take that money and try to reinvest that back in the community to make sure more people are whatever we can to make sure more people are, more making more games that are helping them. Not just buying houses is one thing, but it's better, like what Chinese do, is to build more businesses so that people have more opportunities to then better their own lives, and then also get their houses. And maybe immediately, if people is unhoused in Hawaii, then we could like literally get houses in people's hands. More important than just buying houses is into setting up trust. Like, for example, there's a Lahaina Trust community organization that makes sure that it tries to buy and control as much land as possible, and then it makes sure that people have affordable housing under that community housing ownership situation. That's just one example. So, I mean, maybe I would like help that, just try to help the needs of the people on the ground. It depends on what the needs are. It's different everywhere. Another thing is just getting out from the U.S. occupation. That's one of the most important. But that's a very important, which is that like actually the most successful and profitable is a Chinese open source. Socialist countries' AI is actually more profitable than the U.S. capitalist countries' AI. It just also tells you that without all of the free money that's been thrown, they don't have to even, this is how you get fail sons. Like, this is how you get, degeneracy is not really the right word. This is how you get the lazy decay or just failure to, not a lack of discipline, but people lack the practice of working hard and aspiring to work hard to better their community, the world, and their people, right? Like at Serviceable Games, we have to work hard. Otherwise, we don't exist. We have to work. I wish we didn't have to work as hard, but we have to work. I work every night this week because I was trying to finish the Neofeud 2 script. It's 178,000 words. Okay, it's like 700 pages. Like I wrote an entire Bible. It's like almost the Lord of the Rings altogether, or maybe it's like it's like a giant Asimov book, is what Neofeud 2 script is, right? But that was a lot of work, right? But it's kind of like, but I want to do that because I feel strongly about this game and what Neofeud 2 is going to communicate to the world as a sequel to Neofeud 1, right? And so, right, but like that's not the way of life. That's not the life way of the first world upper class worker, and definitely not the owner class, right? They just seek gratification, pleasure, and accolades based upon stolen credit, right? Like Elon does, right? Women, people of color, and poor working class regular people make his cars, invent his rocket ships, make his PayPal, and he just takes credit for it, right? And then to a large extent, the first world BS job, mostly native, non-foreign born, and people from privileged families. Those people are also right. They're not. It's not that it's good to be in competition, but it's good to be, actually aspiring to do your best and like actually having the inefficiencies rooted out, right? So like, for example, like if you work in an office and your parents are rich millionaire parents and your parents help get you that job, right? Pretending to work at Meta, but not really doing much of anything, sending emails that people don't really read, right? And writing, all the things that David Graeber described in the last 5,000 years and the bullshit jobs, right? If you're doing one of those jobs, like the goal should not be to get paid more money to do bullshit jobs. The goal should, ultimately would be to everybody have a job that isn't BS and that you would actually work hard at. And then it could be a creative job, right? And then everybody's needs would be met, but everyone would be working together, right? Not doing soul-sucking BS, right? But we can't do that. It's very difficult to do that. In China, you can do that more easily. In some situations not, but in the West, in the Western capitalist world, it's very difficult. So anyways, that is the end because it's already 2. Thanks everybody for watching. If you would like to support us, you can help us to keep not making NSHITFI crap, finishing Neofeud 2, and also making streams through a direct donation at ko-fi.com /silverspook. And of course, and thanks a lot to Nerd Riot and everyone else for stopping by. So I don't always read the chat in this because I'm trying to get this. It's basically like a live. I'm live stream ad-libbing a YouTube video. But you can also support us. We could definitely use support because we have definitely we're a bit lower on Patreons than we would need to be. So if anybody can help us to keep on doing this work, you can also help us through patreon.com/Neofeud in the ongoing fashion. update in case you missed it is that I am done with compiling the script of Neofeud 2. It is 178,000 words, like I said, and this is like just a screenshot of the text file that has all of the lines for the characters in the game. And it is I'm gonna be doing the casting call very soon, so look out for that. Don't forget to follow me in all the places, so when I put the casting call out, you will get it. For voice acting on my video game Neofeud 2. And if you want, when you become a Patreon, you get updates such as this. This is one of my cover arts that I produced for a book called Of Floating Isles, and you can now get that. On Arsenal Press. It seems like, yeah. There you go. I was just playing Chrono Trigger yesterday, and there is a Zeal aerial kingdom that has floating islands. I just realized, oh yeah, that's where that's from. There's many floating islands in JRPGs, obviously, and anime and cartoons, but this is a book on growing pains in video games that I did the cover art for. I'm also thanked as part of the inspiration in the book, so you can go and find that. This is not my book. I didn't write the book, but I did do the cover art for that. And yes. Anyways, here's some of the Silver Spook cooperatives. Speaking of land bank, this is one thing we're trying to do is make sure the land keeps on giving us much food as possible. And this is some of the strawberry guavas that are growing here as well. We have the tea leaf. That's a tea leaf. That's what used for wrapper and for cooking to hold food inside of these long elongated leaves. These are some these blackberries that the dog likes a lot, and they are edible. And this is the sugarcane, sweet potato, and so this is the other work that we do at the Silver Spook Cooperative is doing land back decolonization as a native Hawaiian. I am native Hawaiian myself against U.S. imperial occupation, making sure we're growing as much food as possible and having sustainable land environment, and as opposed to just for-profit curb appeal lawns to resell houses in Hawaii for higher and higher prices, thereby dislocating and making homeless and unaffordable housing for all the Hawaiians that are already 50% of us don't even live in Hawaii. So you can help us to keep doing this work as well when you become a patron, and of course also get access to Silver Spook Discord and Silver Spook University. Silver Spook University is, again, it's very cheap, $1, and you get access to all the content we have categorized according to topic, from history, economics, politics, race, gender, Africa, Asia, Latin America, or Hawaii focused, broken down into each category. Pop cultural centered, science fiction and technology, or AI focused. And this is you get access to Silver Spook University when you become a patron at any level. You can also get Neofeud as always on Steam. Just search it up on Steam. And Neofeud is an anti-capitalist, anti-imperialist cyberpunk adventure game where a cyborg social worker and an ex-con robot kid and ex-trillionaire princess try to stop gajillionaire techno kings. Literally, I mean, neo-feudal techno kings. Am I talking about 2025 or like dystopian science fiction I wrote in 2013? Hard to tell. And Neofeud is also a game that is also on itch. Or if you have a second to leave even a very short review, if you like Neofeud, don't forget to leave it, because it does help the game get discovered if you leave a positive review. You can also get Neofeud on itch, as well as games like Decolonators, where you kick capitalist colonizer butts out of your sovereign country. As like Deepseek, you play like socialist in Asia, fighting back, but this is like in an actual shooting war, specifically the Vietnam War, but you play on the communist side. It did just star and as a game where you stop capitalist colonizers from entering and destroying your country in a Star Wars. It's more like 2001: A Space Odyssey or Star Trek sort of setting. And of course, it's also Pigeon with Gun, where you play Luigi Mangione with a gun, unaliving a lot of gajillionaires and tons of cops. And of course, you can also get Woman, which is a book by Holly, who was raised in right-wing evangelical Protestant Christianity, critiquing right-wing Christian culture in the story of the Bible through Mary's eyes. And it's also free, or you can donate some money when you pick it up. As I said, you can follow us at Silver Spook on Xiaohongshu, aka Red Note. And you can also follow me there. Unless you're in Texas, where they have banned it. Or you can also follow on Mastodon. You can follow on Mastodon at SilverSpoonGames at mastodon.social or at SilverSpoonGames at wandering.shop. On Twitter at SilverSpoonGuy. And all over the place. We're like on all the platforms. The ones we can get. I can't post enough. I can't post frequently to every single one. So, but Holly is of course also our moderator and married to myself and parent of two here with myself. And yeah, don't forget to mask because guess what? We're still in the middle of ongoing multiple pandemics. So yeah, that protects everybody. Do some community care. Do some open source closed face community care. Anyway, thanks patrons for your support. Without your support, it's hard to keep doing this work. So thank you so much to all of you who continue to support us in this process, despite I know it is a difficult times for everybody. Anyways, until next time, keep your mirror shades polished, be excellent to each other, seek deeply don't enchitify, aka capitalismify, as much as possible, but and socialismify everything as much as possible. And yeah,